Hi, everybody, and welcome to the show, the Whole Woman online show. I'm your host, Regina Wiley, and joining me today is Mrs. Caryl Lashley. And Mrs. Lashley is a friend of the show. She's been with us several times, and she always has the most amazing information for you. Please stay tuned, and when we come back from the commercial break, we will have Mrs. Lashley introduce herself and tell us a little bit about her. Just hold for me. We'll be right back after these messages.
You always going so fast, burning it up. You got you running like that, right past what you want. So do like I do, and move like I move. Feel that magic down in your shoes. That's why I'm walking like this. That's why I'm walking like this. Yeah. You always moving so fast, breaking your neck. You've been running so far, but you ain't got there yet. So do what I do. We're from a different time, yeah, we're of a different breed. Cause what we got is timeless, we supersede. And we holding the key, yeah, we're tight as can be. We're rolling, just like we please. Ooh, getting caught in the midst of so many that never get out. We're feeding the fears of the doubt. Shame. We own the game, and we ride on the flames till the morning light, baby, cause we're dynamite. Ain't nobody gonna hold us down. Break all the rules, let them run and hide, baby, cause we're dynamite. Gonna let the world know.
Hi, and we're back. Thank you, everybody, for joining me today. I see persons coming into the live. Please, when you come in, like and share the show. That always helps me. In anything online, numbers is your power. So go ahead and like and share the show. I would appreciate that even more than I do now. I would appreciate you. Before I went to the break, I said Mrs. Lashley, Caryl Lashley, who is a friend of the show. She's been with me several times, and she is here today. And Mrs. Lashley always has the most amazing information for our viewers. And today, Mrs. Lashley, it is so good to have you with me.
Thank you. Here again.
Yeah, we're going to be talking today about a myriad of things. But one of the things that we're going to be talking about today is how to leave, how to exit 2019 in this environment, in this season that we're in, and move into one that is now better for you as an individual and you as an employee, as an employer, to make all relationships in the environment better in this season. Let's tell them a little bit about what it is that you do.
Right. So I'm an attorney by profession for a lot of years. And
a lot of years.
And I'm also an accredited mediator and arbitrator. And so while I don't do litigation and go to court anymore, I still practice as an attorney. But my passion is mediation, arbitration, conflict resolution, just living in peace, harmony, and being well. And so that's what I do.
I could see that on you. Your personality bodes for that. You have that kind of spirit. It's like so calming, it's really calming. But let's talk a little bit about we've been in we're talking about the COVID being in this pandemic, and for most persons there are people, as we all know, that took their lives, and persons that have lost their jobs, and persons that are homeless now, persons that can't feed their families, and it's a lot of stuff going on. Persons have lost their jobs. I mean, from every facet of this, the working environment in this country and around the world, I'm sure. What are some of the things that you've seen during this time that you think that concerns you when it comes to the employer-employee relationship?
I think that what concerns me is that we don't do the best that we can for each other,
Mm,
because relationships matter, whether we like it or not.
yes.
We cannot live alone.
Mm,
We, the employer, we need the employees, and we, the employees, we need the employer. We have to stay together. So, with that in mind, we just have to do the best we can for each other. And to do that, we have to start with an inner space of being
mm,
well. And we have to give some validity to the emotions that we see, the emotions we feel, and they're real. This
mm,
has been a really, really hard year, and
mhm.
we cannot take it lightly. 2020 has not been a year for the faint of heart. We have to be
Anyone?
real strong.
Yeah, yeah,
So that's really my concern in 2020, and we have to have a strategy to go into 2021, and we have to use this month to get it together so we go into 2021 well, with the right attitude, right mindset, positive.
yeah. My one of the things that I've been concerned about with the when COVID came, it came so abruptly, and it's like it kind of kicked in the gut, because I was in a contract for my business that I had just negotiated like about a month prior for my business, and um, a month in, I was called in and said, well, because of the lockdown and because of the COVID and all that, that contract was needed to be severed. The thing about it is that I think the way in which it was done was one that was pleasant, but you have people who were sent home, and there was no on the employer's part, there was no like kind of let me give you a week's salary or back. People were just put to pasture more or less without anything. The country is now opening back up. How do you now think that the employers that had to put these people to pasture in a way now need to work with the employees? And then how do you think the employees now need to go back into the working environment with their attitudes? Because if something was done to you that way, how do you now go back in with a pleasant attitude? Because as we know, over at Lattice, some persons wanted their to be severed, and that wasn't happening. What are some of the things that you think need to happen now that the country's opening back up and kind of moving back into a space of the new normal?
We all have to try and have a spirit of forgiveness. We have to start with that. When you're afraid and when things happen that you don't know how to deal with, like COVID, you act out of character, because the COVID is
Yeah,
out of character.
this is
And
this is
so we have to
first
recognize,
first time in our entire life.
and for those who have been in control of their situation, when they're no longer in control, they panic. And so
Mm,
they did and said some things that maybe wasn't appropriate. But we have to have a spirit of forgiveness. We're all in the same boat, and we have to remember that anger and frustration and fear, they're emotions that we all have. The employer has it, the employee has it. And
mm,
so we have to give and take and have a spirit of forgiveness. And on the other side, we have to know how to apologize and mean it. We have to be
mm.
sincere in that as well, and say, I did and said some things that maybe I ought not to have done, and I apologize. I really do. Um, if I had thought it through, or if I had stopped for a moment, I would not have acted that way. You have to acknowledge the inappropriate conduct or speech, the violence in the language, and apologize for it, but we got to be sincere.
The thing about it is, a lot of people, like I said earlier, have gone through, and the thing with us as a people, human beings, I do believe we always like to point the finger. We always like to point and blame someone else for the situations that we're in, as opposed to trying to find the betterment and trying to find a better way to work together. And I think I said this before, and I want to say it again because even now the situation is, if you go back, in some instances you have smaller businesses that really can't say bring people back to work. Some people businesses are closed, some people businesses will never open again, and the ones that are bringing you back on now, they can only start off from a place of maybe 3 days or 2 days. How do you think that as an employer you should negotiate something in that vein?
Well, I think there has to be some, because people believe that they're entitled. I was working for you all these years. What you mean by that? There's no entitlement, because COVID wasn't giving anybody any entitlement. And so we have to recognize it from that perspective. We have to be objective in our view. We have to be objective in how we speak and how we expect people to react to us. We really have to be objective. We can't cuss out the person who we expect to employ us and then say, man, I only was joking. There's no joke.
Yeah. But I do believe, for me, I think that I was talking to a friend this past week, and he was talking about how we are not good communicators as a people. We don't know how to communicate, and I know that's one of the things that you advocate for, or in what you do, having a good space of communication where you can be able to and explain what communication is, because a lot of people don't understand what that means.
Well, when we were growing up, two things. We always were told by our parents, think before you speak. And that's a part of it. We have to think before we speak. We can't just spurt out anything that comes to our head.
Yeah, but the first thing that comes to your head and say, I keeping it real.
Right.
That's what they think keeping it real means. Yeah.
Right. And so we have to think before we speak. And the second thing we have to do is practice the pause. We have to pause before we say something that might offend. We have to pause before we say something that sounds violent. We have to pause so we choose correct language. We don't have to choose language that the other person might find offensive. And so once we practice that pause, choose the right language, we will then be in a position to communicate in a way that's satisfactory. But it's up to us. It's not up to the other person. It's always up to us. We have to do our part. Practice the pause. Think before we speak. Speak with kindness. Speak the truth. No gossip. And say something that's helpful, not hurtful.
You pulled something up. You said you spoke about gossip. Now, you sent me in our communication. I got a circle of things from you that talks about all the things that in a working environment that does not make it conducive. And one of them was bullying. One of them was gossiping. There were several things in there that I thought were very pertinent. And what I think a lot of people don't think about on the job. On the job, they feel like if I've been here 10 years and you just come in, I have the right to say this, or I have the right to do that. And people don't understand that certain things that they do is bullying. They think that they're just speaking their mind or being firm in whatever it is. Let's talk about that circle and some of the things that that's attached to that.
Well, a big part of it is if we're going to respect each other, the things that are happening to cause problems at the job wouldn't happen, because respect is so important. We have to do unto others, and it's nothing new. We do unto others as we expect them to do unto us. We have to recognize that we don't just shoot from the hip. If somebody says something to us, let's consider our response and give a considered response. Don't just say any old thing, and that's too bad. It's not too
Mm.
bad. And so
The,
we have an obligation to
mm.
be human and humane.
The thing about it is, Miss Lashley, is I think that you say it, and I could see you mean it from your heart, but you say it, and I think about it every time you and I do an interview, and you speak about the things that you speak about. I can see that you're resolute about those, but then I realize that when we look at the real world, when we look at a world that we live in, there are most persons who don't think the way that you and I do. And again, I like the fact that you said it's our responsibility, because in essence, you can't let how the other person behave dictate what you do as an adult. So I mean, talk to me, and I'm trying to choose my words carefully, because I know that because I want people to understand what you're saying, and I'm learning this now myself in my latter years, that nobody has the right, or you have the choice to not allow somebody to cause you to behave in the manner in which you don't want to. So talk to me a little bit about some of the things as a person that you think we need to come to understand, to be better as an individual. Because first you got to do the work on yourself, just like you said.
You have to, you have to. And you have to want to,
Yes.
because we have to want to do better. But we all can do better. Each and every one of us. It has nothing to do with education. It has nothing to do with upbringing. It has to be only your choice. How we conduct ourselves is our habit.
Mm.
And so we get into the habit of being rude, or we get in the habit of being kind. And so we have to decide, I'm going to be kind and make that my habit. And I'm going to fall down sometimes and be mean. But we got to
Mm.
pick it up and say, you know what? I really apologize. That was mean. So we have to determine how we want to be, how we want to behave. And we have to practice it. Practice makes perfect. We learned that as kids. Practice
Yes.
makes perfect.
Yes.
And so if we want to be good, decent human beings, we have to practice it. And eventually that's what we'll be. And then we encourage the people who we interact with to be the same and say,
Better.
I'm hurt. And so they understand that the negative language, that the abusive language, that the um, really violent language.
Yeah. Yeah.
You don't think of it as violent language. That's what it is. It's like
Mhm.
it's a knock from the head. If that
Yes.
language is violent, that's not good. And we have to stop, practice the pause, and find the right language. And it's all a habit. And we
I,
have to recognize that we fall down sometimes. We got to pick ourselves up, say, doggone it, I did that again, and try to do better.
the thing about it is, though, we were talking about um, um, being able to go into the new working environment in a space that is better, and a mind space that is better. But we were also talking about relationships on the whole, because we want people to understand that all relationships matter. And the truth of the matter is that in 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 any relationship, because I look at some of the relationships that I've seen with boyfriend, girlfriend, husband and wife, and you look at it, and you're like, why is she allowing him to talk to her like that, or why is he allowing her to speak to him like that? And even sister, brother, friend, you wonder why it's people think they have the right inner working. And see, you have to remember now what carries over from your home, or what carries over from the environment that you live in, or what's acceptable there. People think that it's okay to take it in the working environment and to behave in that manner, because maybe the people who they live with don't have the courage to say to them, what you're doing is wrong, or you need to change that habit, because that habit is not a good habit. And I think in our society too, that people, because they want to be friends, or because they don't want to um they don't want to like get
They don't offend.
yeah, that they allow people to continue to behave the way that they do. Or if you love someone, you don't want them to leave you, so you're going to let them treat you anyway, or in the manner in which they do, without having any reprimand or being accountable. And I think, like we have to start with us. And even when we start cleaning up our own stuff, we now have to hold people accountable.
Right, but they need to know we can't expect them to be accountable if we don't say to them, I'm offended. This is
That's
my
it.
expectation. We have to articulate it, and they will know, and they will try to do better because they will know that that's what has to
Mhm.
happen. They will know that that is the only acceptable behavior that exists, and we will not accept something more. And we have to say, we will help you. I will help you to change the habit. We have to be able to help them.
Yeah, the thing about, and I keep saying, I'm, it concerns me a lot because I see people, like, I've been in environments where people have outright just disrespected another person, and then, like you say, they've just said, whatever, or that's just how I am, or, and to me that makes no sense, because I think it bodes for who you are as a person on the inside. How do you feel about that?
Say, when they say, that's just how I am,
Mm,
that's a signal to you to give, they're reaching out. Please help me to be different. They don't know how to be different. And so we have an obligation to assist, to say, that's not really how you are, but that's how you allowed yourself to develop, but you don't have to be that way. And so we need to take the time. And a lot of times we don't take the time that we need to take to encourage our friends, our co-workers, the people we engage with on a daily basis. We don't take the time to encourage them to be better. We
mm,
accept them as they are, and there's nothing wrong with that. And we don't tell them, but it's fine. I take you as you are, but you
mm.
can do better. You can do better. And this is what I recommend. This is what I would suggest. This is how I have changed. And they need to know that you didn't start off like this. It's a habit. However you conduct yourself is how you determined you want it to be.
Mm.
And you can change at any stage, but there's work to be done. And I'm prepared to help you. That's what we have to say. In our
Mm.
environment, this is how the game goes.
And again, for you to even be able to say you want to reach out and help someone, you, again, that's, you have to do the work, and you have to be able to, you have to be the example, I believe, in more ways than one, for them to be able to say, I want you to help me. Because if they see you doing something, like you say, contrary to what it is that you're trying to teach them, they're not going to be open to hearing what you have to say. When you look at all the violence and all the things that's happening in our society now, and even I think, I believe that communication is imperative. I talk a lot. From as a child, I talk a lot, and I always wondered why I talk so much. And when God gave me the purpose for my life, when after my mother passed away from cancer, He showed me that my talking was my gift, and I've come to understand that. So for me, I try to be encouraging and be motivating and be uplifting to people. I do that because I know word, people, remember we had this saying, sticks and stone could break my bones, but word would never hurt me. And that's not true. Words
It's not
hurt.
true.
Words hurt. And they linger in the air and fulfill their purpose, even over time. And the Bible speaks about that, because we have to learn as a people how to motivate and encourage each other. Because if you, I tell people all the time, when you're in a working environment, you spend more time on the job than you do in your own home with your family.
Absolutely.
So don't you think it makes sense to go ahead and cultivate that environment so that it's a positive, loving, caring environment for as much as it could be, because you're not going there looking for all your love or all your caring, because you get that at home, and then you take it out to the take it out to that environment. Talk to me about how important respect is, because
Respect is
I think respect, you got to
very
respect yourself first. How important do you think respect is?
exceedingly important
Mm,
because without respect, you blaming somebody else for what you do. Without
mm,
respect, you end up distressed and in stress. And we say, oh, y'all don't know how I'm so stressed out. That's why I'm stressed out because I didn't respect myself sufficiently to investigate why I feel a certain way or to investigate how I could have dealt with something in a different way
mm,
and or how I could have spoken to somebody in a different way, or that some of your workmates withdraw from you. They don't have a conversation with you because they're not comfortable with the language that you use, or they're not
mm.
comfortable with what you're doing or saying. And so the things that don't happen, the things that happen that you don't like, 9 times out of 10 don't happen because you don't respect the people you're with. You don't take
Mm,
the time to understand what makes them tick. You don't take the time to understand what or how you could do better by them. You don't take the
mm.
time to understand that, maybe they don't even have any lunch. And
Yes.
you're going to eat your lunch, or the other day will look their way. You got to understand people where they are and know their name and know what their name means so that they could consider you a kind person
Mm.
or a helpful person. You got to be helpful, not hurtful. And but that requires a lot from you. It requires respect, it requires some humane conduct, it requires a willingness to have a good working relationship. And it's all about relationship. You can't have a relationship if you have no respect.
Mm. And
Relationship
that's
only grows
mm.
if the conduct is good.
In and you said a mouthful when you said if you don't have respect, then a relationship can't grow. Because for me, if you're in a and I have to be careful because my daughter, I say to my kids all the time, if you're working and you're in an environment and the whole environment is chaotic, you need to now turn your head and look for the head. Because if the environment is chaotic, now the head is the problem. Because if you're the head, you're supposed to take control of your environment and your employees and the environment that they work in. So for me, how important is it that the head of a department, the head of a company, the person in charge of a ministry, how important is it for them to be stable? And what are some of the things that they can do to make sure that the environment that their employees, that their people that work with them can be safe? Because seriously, you have some environments. I spoke to a lady just before COVID, and she was saying to me she had to resign from her job because the environment was so toxic that she couldn't really go to work and continue to be in a right frame of mind. She had to literally resign.
Right. And so there's a saying that the water is always clearer at the head of the stream. And that means the person, the head, your supervisor, your boss, whomever, they have to have the clearest head. And that's their obligation. And so if that's their obligation, you have a right to expect them to fulfill that obligation
Mm,
because that's who you're working with. Now, once you determine that, you'll have some people fall down. We have to recognize that as humans, we fall down. And so if we fall down, you got to say, um, you are micromanaging me today or yesterday. And I felt very uncomfortable. We have an obligation if they fall down to articulate something, articulate our feelings because they're people too. And so they will fall down. They will
mm,
do the wrong thing. But we have to acknowledge it and we have to articulate it so that our workplace ends up being efficient. We have to say, we're not efficient as we could be. We're not at the top of our game. And I think that A, B, or C could change and we'll do better. But if we don't do that, we leave it to them and they don't see it, everybody falls down.
and see,
So we
that's
have
the
to communicate.
yeah, that's the thing. Because in some cases, you have some of the bosses that are the problem as well. Let's don't just look at the employees because you have some bosses that bring chaos and bring toxic environments themselves. Because you, as an employee, let's say I go to my boss and I tell them something that's going on in my family or going on with me, and I come back to work, or somebody could call me and tell me what I know I only tell my boss or what I tell my supervisor. How important is confidentiality in a working environment? How important is it?
Confidentiality is extremely important because that makes or breaks the relationship. If
Mm,
I tell you A and I can't depend on you to keep A, we will have no relationship. I can't come back to you tomorrow about B because I
mhm.
know you've breached my confidence. You've
Yes,
thrown my everything into the open. And
yes.
so the ability for us to speak and for me to be included or for you to be included or for somebody else to be included in our working group is immediately diminished and
Mhm.
maybe completely broken. And
Yes.
so we have to acknowledge that, mind you, we have to also acknowledge that they're people too.
Yes.
because they have their own
We,
problems.
we keep saying that, but one of the things that I always remember Daddy Miles used to say, as a leader, you gotta be accountable. See, the thing about it is they're human beings, and of course, as a human being, we make mistakes. All of us do. I made mine. I live with mine, and so forth and so on. But at the end of the day, here's my thing: if you are in charge, if I'm in charge, and I make a mistake, again, like you said, you have to be big enough to go and apologize and say I'm sorry for doing it, but also you now have to be be accountable to be better, so that moving forward, again, because there's a possibility that you could repair the breach that you would have created if they see you being better. As a head, you have to be better. You have to be in a space where, as a parent, you have to be better, because as a mother, you have to be because you're a leader and you have to lead your children in your home, and you have to be better as a mother. We don't get it all right, but again, for me, I make mistakes, but I always try to pick up. I'll say to my daughter, I'll see her do something, and I'll be like, baby, if you see that, if I did that, and you learned that from me, then right, and I apologize to you for letting you see that. You understand?
Right.
And every day you could just work towards being better. But you have a lot of them, boy. Some of them, they that power. They get that power, and that's it. What?
But we have an obligation as employees to articulate, I am not happy in this environment. And there's a way to do it.
Well, you could go home.
So if that's really what it is, then I perhaps need to. But I think that I have something to offer. I think that you have something I could learn, and I think I can have something to offer here. And I think that if we all did our part, our workplace could be a successful place. And that's really what I was thinking. But that only will happen if we could communicate. And I wouldn't say that in the open, because that has to be done confidentially too,
Yes,
and
yes.
in the right environment and with the right respect. But you have to at least have the confidence and feel that you are given the confidence
Mm.
to articulate something that will improve the relationship, because that's all employment is, a relationship. And we have to be able to work together for the relationship to work.
Let
We
me
recognize
ask.
we all have faults, but we got to pick
Mhm.
up the faults and brush them off and say, you know what, I erred on that one, and I apologize, and I hope you forgive me. And if possible, maybe I can do A, B, or C moving forward. Help me with
Mhm.
that.
How you go ahead. You go ahead.
No, what I was saying was that as a leader, as your boss, you could say to the employee, "This I recognize I've fallen down on this one. Help me not to fall down here again." So when you
Mm.
see A, B, or C, tell me. Um, there's a right way to do it, but you could articulate that I think we're going on the wrong path, or I think that this isn't positive. I think it's more negative than positive. Respect enables us to speak freely, and
I'm
that's what
I'm
we.
I'm 55, Miss Lashley, and I've been on several jobs in this country, and I can tell you, there's no way that stuff is there. And I'm not trying to be negative, because I am a positive person, and I'm saying that to say, not to say that it can't happen, or it doesn't happen in other places. But I've been on a lot of jobs, and that kind of communication and that kind of care and concern for someone is not present in any way, shape, or form. You have in this COVID season now, right now, there are women that are single mothers who have children, and kids are not in school. They have to now have those kids at home. They have to go back to work, many of them now, because the country is opening back up. You have some bosses that would not care one iota, would not ask a question one day of those women how their kids are doing, or if they have an environment where their kids could be safe, or if they could even find out if the employees have the children of the same age, and they could work together to get someone to watch the kids or teach the kids, or there's things that can be done. My concern always is in an environment where especially with women, because as women we carry a lot. We take care of our aging parents. We deal with our children. We deal with our husbands. We deal with our homes. We deal with the dog. We have to deal with the cat. We have to deal with our own health. We have to deal with cooking. All these things we have to deal with. And going into work, your mindset is not there. How can an employer now help an employee in a position like that to now be able to come to work and be comfortable and feel whole?
Well, I think the world has changed. That's the first thing we have to realize. The world has changed. 50 years ago, all of the bosses were men. 50 years ago, they had no concern about any of their female employees. They had no concern because their wife and their
home.
were home. And so
the housekeeper and the babysitter and the teacher. Yes.
And that's it. But I think that we too are learning that from the young people. The young people today are much more demanding than we were when we were their age. They're not satisfied with you saying, do this because I say so. They want you to explain why.
How.
Give me a good reason. And that reason needs to be a serious reason, and you have to reason it out and can defend it.
Yes.
And unless at that stage, we're not going to progress. Relationships will not work. The world has changed, and COVID has changed the world a little bit more. And so the respect that the 30-year-olds have been asking for 5 years ago, they are demanding doubly now because of COVID, because their responsibilities are different. The relationships at home are different. The needs of our nation, and not only Bahamas, but our nation, they're different. And so we have to determine how we want our nation to be next year, 10 years from now, and for the next generation. And so all of us have an obligation, and we have to see it as an obligation as nation builders to do what we have to do to be better.
Yes.
Yes. Embrace the change, to embrace humanity, to embrace what we can do to help our fellow people, because some of us will have food and some will not.
It's happening right now.
It's happening right now. And so we have to improve our staff morale. We have to make our workplace more efficient by ensuring that the people who work with and for us are fed, are not hungry, are not concerned about their children, and can focus on whatever their task in the day is. And if they have a lot of other issues,
you're going to get poor performance. You're going to get poor performance. And so or no performance, because their minds aren't there. And that's one of the things that I'm trying to do, the points I'm trying to make, because it's kind of like shooting yourself in the foot. If you have an employee and you are not being courteous, and this goes for employees as well, because if you have a nice boss and you're taking advantage, saying you're sick and this thing and the next thing, then you're shooting yourself in the foot, because then you won't have a job. You understand? So the medium, like you're saying, the communication and the place of coming to the understanding that we're in this together, let's work together to make this environment a great one for us to be able to survive and everything flourish. And I believe, because we're talking about relationships across the board, not just in a working environment, I believe the same thing applies to a home. You, as an individual, to a husband and wife with children, give everybody their responsibility, everybody work together, and you can have a pleasant place where you can grow and flourish and be whole.
That's it. You have to be happy. But in the work environment, I think we have to put some of the pressure, for want of a better word, on the human resource professionals. They have an obligation, because they stand between the head and the foot. They have to demonstrate strength of character, neutrality, and they have to say to their boss, you're not doing the right thing. This is what you have to do. This is 2021 coming up in a minute. And for 2021, these are the rules. And while the boss might not be as au fait with what the rules are, the human resources professionals, they need to know the rules. And they have an obligation to both sides. They have to make sure that the employees are compliant. They have to make sure the employees understand the rules too, and find out from them what's going on. Why are we not doing the best we can? Why are we not as efficient as we ought to be? The boss has to also be told by the human resource professional who the boss engaged to ensure that everything works well.
Yeah.
Also, and right to meet.
Yeah, the thing about it is how you talk about the human resources manager, and Lord help us in our best to stay seen, because you have some of them, they are so concerned about their jobs that they don't even care to ruffle feathers with the boss, knowing full well that the boss is wrong and not doing the right thing, but in order to keep their jobs, they choose not to ruffle feathers. So in between that head and foot you talk about is a rotting middle. Yeah, in essence. So if the middle is gonna rot, eventually the head and the body is gonna do like this and fall apart. How valuable do you think training is? Training. I have my girlfriend Kim. Welcome. She goes in and she talks to employer and employees to give them some of the best avenues and resorts. What do you call it? Information to help them to be able to do some of the things that they need to do. How important do you think training is? And how often do you think training should take place in a working environment? Because it's hard to just do it once a year and think that it's gonna stick when you got people from these corners that these corners in the back of the bush where they learn to be ghetto and be dropping it like it hot and all these kind of things, and then they come on a job and you think giving them a training when you hire them. Because I had a situation at one point where an employee of a company was rude to me, and when I called the head office, the boss said, "Oh, when we hire them, we train them." I was like, "So how long has he been working for you now?" 6 years. Well, you train him when you hire him, and now 6 years later, you think that's still there? So how important do you think training is, and how often do you think it should take place in a working environment?
I think training is important, but we have to look at the focus. You are being trained for two reasons. One, to improve and enhance your performance on the job, and two, to improve efficiency overall in the workplace. And that's why training takes place. And so if that is what is going to happen, once you engage a person, you have to then determine person by person what their needs are to make your workplace efficient. You have to determine how often or what type of training they need. And a lot of times we determine, oh, we're going to train you to do this, but really you need to go back down a level and train them somewhere else first, and then bring them back up.
Yes.
And so we need to not make assumptions. We need to look at people exactly where they are and start training them where they are if we're going to have a working relationship, because the relationship is what matters overall for us to be efficient and to do well. And if we do well, I do well. If I do well, you do well. And as I say, some of us not even eating because we're not doing well. But we're not doing well because the people who we work with don't even notice we're not doing well.
Yes.
And not doing enough to help us.
They don't take the time. We're going to take a break right here. And when we come back, Mrs. Lashley has some pointers that she will be giving you in from her November, October piece in the newspaper. I do believe it is. She's going to give you some tips and some advice on how to make this happen, because we've talked about a lot of things. But the main thing is, like, the bottom line of what she's saying is that at the end of the day, it's in communication. Relationships are valuable. And then in order for relationships to work in any area, that's in the working environment, in a home environment, in a sister brother, any relationship, communication is key, respect is key, confidentiality is key. These are the pointers that she gave earlier. But we're going to take a break, and when we come back, she's going to be talking to us a little bit more, giving us some more tips on how we can get the best working environment for us and our employees. We'll be right back.
You always going so fast, burning it up. You got you running like that, right past what you want. So do like I do, and move like I move. Feel that magic down in your shoes. That's why I'm walking like this. That's why I'm walking like this. Yeah. You always moving so fast, breaking your neck. You've been running so far, but you ain't got there yet. So do what I do. We're from a different time, yeah, we're of a different breed. Cause what we got is timeless, we supersede. And we're holding the key, yeah, we're tight as can be. We're rolling just like won't let them run and hide, baby, cause we're dynamite. Gonna let the world know. Gonna let the world know.
Hi, everybody, and we're back. Please let me take this opportunity to say if you like the show, like and share the show. It's always important, like I said before, when you are doing anything online, numbers is power. And the way we get that number is when you go and you hit like, you hit subscribe. You can jump over to my YouTube channel and you can hit like over there. You can subscribe over there. And I have my website, thewholewoman.tv, where we are doing some amazing things for the new season, for the new year coming up, 2021. I'm so excited about it because there's so much things coming. I'm with Mrs. Lashley. This 2020 is we're exiting this. We're leaving all this stuff behind and we're moving into 2021. Excited, motivated, happy to move forward to do new and exciting things. Also, I'd like to take this opportunity to say thank you to Black Opal, distributed by Commonwealth Drugs and Medical Supply, who is a sponsor of the Whole Woman Show. And let me say that last week, Cody Roll, who's the brand ambassador for Black Opal, we hung out at Commons on Alexander and Rosetta Street, and we had an amazing time. If you didn't get an opportunity to get down there, you gotta come on out, man. You don't know what you're missing. You're getting Black Opal is an affordable product. It's already affordable. You can get a foundation and a coverage for about $20, and they're giving you 10% off. So it's less than $20. And that's pretty good and it does amazing. It works amazing. It works it's the quality of any of the leading makeup on the market. And you can get it by women of color, and it was created for women of color. Their stick foundation. Last week, when Cody was here, we talked about the stick foundation. This is the stick foundation, people. And she gave us different ways that you can use this. You can use it as a foundation. You can use it as a contour. You can use it in a lot of different ways. And we were there and we had the opportunity. You always get opportunity to meet the most amazing people when you go out to these events. And we have a good time. Cody and her team, they are phenomenal. And keep in mind that when they are at these events, they social distance, they sanitize, and they wear their mask to make sure that you are safe in the environment, and they 6 feet distance. This Friday, they're gonna be at one of the Dream Girls beauty supply stores. I'm going to get the location of the one that they're going to be at. I do believe it's Prince Charles, and it's on Friday from 9:30 to 4. And they're going to be there, and they're going to be giving you the discounts. You're going to be able to get your color swatch, because for a lot of people, they don't know their color with the Black Opal makeup. They don't know what their color is. So what they will be doing is Cody or one of the team members will apply the makeup to your skin. They'll use several shades to make sure you get the perfect shade, because in essence, some people can wear two colors, because I can wear two colors. I wear beautiful bronze and I forgot my other shade, beautiful bronze, and another shade that I can wear that matches my complexion. And so they're good. They're awesome at what they do. You need to come on down. What I'm going to do, last week I had a QR code on my page that you can scan the QR code for all you young people and you persons that are tech savvy. You can scan the code on your phone, bring it with you to the location, and when you come on down to the location, you let Cody or the person who's doing the cash know that you bought that code, so that you can get the Whole Woman 10% discount. And and they have a lot of and they have giveaways as well. So you can go ahead and do that. And if you do not know how to do the savvy thing, you can print it out and you can take it with you. You can print the code out and take it with you. They accept that as well. We had a beautiful time, and I'm looking forward to seeing you guys on Friday. Like I say, Cody and the team are going to be there, and they always social distance. They always do their hand sanitizing, and they make sure that you're safe. Because believe it or not, we have families. I have a grandson. I have two amazing children. Cody has her daughter, and I'm sure the other young people who are out there that's working with her, they have their family members. We don't want to get sick either. Keep that in mind. We want to take care of ourselves and make sure we're home safe to protect our families as well. So again, I'd like to say thank you to the Black Opal team. We work together and we have an awesome time. I look forward to Friday. Miss Lashley, are you a Black Opal woman or no?
I'm not actually. I'm not on makeup, but so I'm not. But I'm not any brand.
I'm gonna give you one of these one of the matte lipsticks. I'm gonna bring that for you so you can be able to see how fabulous it is. This is what I'm wearing now. It's called the Fab Fuchsia, and then we have the next one. No, this is my Fab Fuchsia. And this one is Not Tonight. That's actually the name. And they are matte, but they have vitamin E, and they are fabulous on your lips. See, they're not on my teeth, and they leave your lip moist. They're really, really nice. And I see you have on that pink. When I saw you with that pink earlier, I thought that was one of the shades. I'm going to bring one for you so you could give it a try. You're going to love it.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for being with me. Before we went to the break, and before I got caught up in doing my due diligence, I said that you had some like tips that you wanted to give to our viewing audience about how what are some of the things they can do to get the best working environment as well as their home environment as well? Because in either space, you want to be whole, you want to be safe, you want to be cared for in the way people speak to you and how they treat you. Let's give our audience members some tips on how to make that happen.
Okay, thank you. So we talked earlier about language. We use some words that we don't spend the time to think what they mean and what other people think they mean. Sometimes we know the meaning of the word, but that's not the common usage meaning. And so we use a word and people are offended. And so we have to acknowledge and make sure the person who we are speaking with acknowledges that we're speaking the same language. Sometimes we're careless and we cause harm. We didn't mean to cause any harm. The other person's expectations are not met when we do that because we made a mistake. We didn't even pay any attention to whether they're upset about it or not because we know what we meant. We didn't look back to see if they got what we meant. And so we have to take the time to recognize that language is important, communication is important, and our listening skills have to be such that we don't be rushing. We stop and make sure you got it. And when people ask us, we have to make sure that we get it.
Yeah.
And say, this is what you meant, this is what I got.
That's interesting that you say that because nobody really takes the time to do that. I love that.
No, because that's why we're hurt, and that's why feathers are ruffles and relationships break down, because that is what causes conflict, a breakdown in communication, nothing more. We say one thing, the person understands something else, and that is why there is conflict. We have to have it as our habit that we communicate clearly and well and make sure the person gets what we want them to get. And likewise, we got to make sure we get what they want us to get. And so it takes time. We can't be rushing through things. So we can't assume anything. Please let us not make assumptions. Please, please, please.
You're good at that, though.
Oh, we love it. I love it. But we have to recognize, having done it, okay, I made an assumption. Maybe I was wrong. Got to own up. We have to take responsibility for what we think, what we do, what we say, how we act. We have to be prepared to get the solution that we want to get. But we can't get it if we don't do the right thing. And so that's what we have to do. We cannot assume. We have to practice, practice, practice. Nothing happens without practice. We learned this as kids.
Yes.
Practice is perfect.
Perfect.
Nothing we're talking about today is new. These are things that we knew all our lives. We have to remember that everybody has emotions. We have anger. Nothing's wrong with anger. But we got to acknowledge it. When we finish, we got to say, you know what? sorry how I reacted yesterday, but I was so angry because so and so.
Mm,
Own it, acknowledge it, and own it, and
mm,
apologize for it, and ask for forgiveness. And that person might be so hurt that they're not prepared to forgive you. And so you got to back off and come back at it
yeah.
another day, you know,
Mm,
boy, oh boy, I'm sorry about what happened last week. And then last month until we get it. And that's what has to happen in our relationships. We have to work on it until we get it right. We can't shoot the messenger. We got to shoot the issue.
okay.
Get to the heart of the problem. Decide what the issue is and try
Mm,
to get that fixed. Don't jump down on the person who's bringing the issue to you and mess with them. Get to the issue and listen to it. Break down the problem into 7 little pieces and deal with one at a time until you get them all fixed.
mm,
Get to the heart of the problem. That's what we don't do. We get so into who bringing the issue to
yeah.
us.
Yeah. The peripheral stuff. Yeah.
That's right. We
Mm,
forget it.
yeah.
And so once we do that, we define what the problem is. We have to develop a strategy, identify them. I determine that I will deal with issue number 1. You will work on issue number 2. Somebody else will work on issue number 3. We have a
Mm,
lot of issues to work on in our workplace, but we have to include everybody.
yes.
Everybody has to have a part to play. I can't say, well, I'm in charge, yes, I'm making the decisions. No, everybody got to have
Mm,
some input to make sure.
responsibility. Yes.
That's right. If you have no responsibility, say, well, shoot, I ain't not saying anything because I ain't nothing around here for me
You're
anyway.
accountable. Yes. You're not being accountable. Yes.
You have responsibility, you have an obligation, and you have to be able to defend the position that you take. So
Mm,
it's not that you just take a position and say, well, that's it. No, you have to be able to defend it. This is my position. This is why I think it will work. This
mm,
is why I think we should collaborate in this way. This is why I think you should do A and I do B, because your personality, I think, will withstand resolving and working through A, and mine will withstand B better because I'll be able to help us to collaborate, I think, with the other people. So we have to look at everybody's strength and
mm,
work through it.
yes.
Everybody has to know what means a lot to you, and they have to know what means a lot to me. So what might mean a lot to you might mean a lot to me. And so everybody has something that means a lot to them. Let's bring that out. Let's put
Mm,
that in the pot. And if all of us have something that means a lot to us in the pot, we will all do our best to make sure that we enhance and improve the pot. But through it all, we got to have 2 things: respect and confidentiality.
mm,
Because let me say this. Let's say you're in a medical field and somebody
mm,
says, you know, Caryl Lashley, and then you say to them, oh yeah, I know her. She's come to so and so. No, I don't want my business in the street. I don't want you to know I'd be going to Dr. So and so.
yes.
But
Yes.
really breach the confidentiality. You
Yes.
got to know what confidentiality is. But when the doctor engaged you, he should have explained to you this job is very confidential. You
Mm,
can't talk about who our patients are. You can't talk about the drugs that we use. You can't talk about anything that happens here. But if you
mm,
don't tell the people when you engage them what their responsibility is in terms of confidentiality, you can't expect them to know. You have an obligation to make sure that they are aware of what has to happen in the work
mm,
environment for the
yes.
relationship. So things don't just happen. We make them happen. But we have to
Yes.
involve everybody. We have to make sure that they're trained. You talked about training. You don't assume that people know everything or assume that they know what you consider to be basic, because in their
Important.
environment, that wasn't basic. Something else was basic for them.
Mm,
And so we then determine as a group how we're going to move forward. We then determine as a group how we're going to improve everything that we do. And that has to be
yes.
our goal, that we do better, we be better, and we do it together.
Yes.
So
That's
there might
with all those tips.
be
I didn't hear.
for us to go well into 2021, we have to follow those tips, I think. We have to just
Yeah.
try to keep improving and help pull along those who need some help.
The thing about it is you have a choice, Mrs. Ashley. You have a choice to decide whether you want to be better and learn the lessons that the things and the lessons and the things that you should have learned in 2020 with all that has happened. The unprecedented things happened, especially here in the Bahamas. We had a hurricane just Dorian just before COVID that almost wiped out two of our major islands that are the islands that bring in a lot of the finances into our country, into our treasury, that helps to carry the other islands and to carry the main island, which is Nassau, New Providence. That was almost wiped out. Then on the back of that, that wasn't even over yet, and COVID came, and there's unprecedented things that happen. I want to take this opportunity to say here, especially to the women, the persons that watch my show each week, listen to me. Let me tell you all something. The option to give up, the option to commit suicide, the option to lay down and play dead, take that off the table. That's not an option. Because, and if you don't have that as an option, you have no other choice but to get up, succeed, move, exit 2020. Because we're in the last leg now. And you got to strengthen yourself. You got to give yourself resolve and strengthen yourself. Look it in the face and tell it, you king, you thought you had me. But look at me now, I still standing. And I can take everything that I went through and I'm going to use it to make me better. And I'm going to go to 2021 being the best, most amazing me that I can possibly be. And I'm going to jump over there and do even better than I did in 2020. 2020, that is, there were lessons to be learned. And if you're smart, you would have learned a lesson. Some person said, this is the time for you to get to know your neighbor, because a lot of us live in a community and we don't know our neighbors. Because like we said earlier, that this is going to we're going to go through another unprecedented thing. And if you didn't learn anything from this to be better from it, you would have lost the whole lesson. You would have lost, it would have been done. You would have gone through all of it for nothing.
For nothing.
Yes, for nothing. The thing is to learn the lesson, to love your neighbor as yourself, to find out if, like you say on the job, if the person you work with have something to eat. Because believe it or not, people come to work and they're too ashamed, or they're too, some people are just private. But if you get to know them and you find out if they're okay, you go and you ask, I have 2 sandwiches. Would you like to have one? Would you like to have, you know what I mean? We have to be our brothers and sisters keeper in this season. We have to take care of each other, because believe it or not, this is the time, this is the season when we're going to have to be the ones to carry each other. And I want people to understand that. Ladies, you are amazing that watch this show each week. Ms. Lashley, you are amazing. Thank you so much for joining me again, for being with me. I know for the new year, we're going to be doing some things. Tell our audience members how they can reach you if they want any mediation done, if they want any arbitration done, if they want to have an attorney. Let them know how they can get in contact with you, and you will do an amazing job for them, I'm sure.
Well, I do my best, and I believe that every situation can be made right. Every problem can be remedied, but we have to take the time to do it. It doesn't happen overnight, and we have to stay the course. And so I can be reached at ADR Bahamas, Capuchin Turnquest, 393-3226, 394-7800, CAE Lashley at adrbahamas.org. And we have a Facebook page, ADR Bahamas. Like us as well, please. But I'm definitely available so that we can make ourselves better as people, as a nation. And we have to remember that relationships matter across the board.
I would venture to ask Miss Lashley, would you be open to going into businesses and speaking if that was an opportunity that was presented? Because the things you're saying make so much sense, and I think in the working environment, especially now with the new normal and people coming back, I think that they really would need to have to have their wisdom and knowledge in moving back in that environment.
Oh, absolutely, because we have to also be our brother's keeper, and our relationships matter, not only if we're working together. Everybody we engage with is a relationship. The people who pump gas in our car, we have a relationship with them. The people who we meet in the supermarket through the aisle, we have a relationship with them. And so if we are kind, and we talked about this before, if we are kind, if we are helpful rather than hurtful, if we think before we speak, if we practice the pause, that's what we have to do.
Yeah, one of my viewers said, "You're speaking truth." That's Nia Mills Bethel said, "You're speaking the truth. Practice the pause." She loves that. Practice the pause. That's the first time I heard it, but I get what you're saying. That gives the opportunity to rethink what you're saying or to think
Rethink it
before you speak. Yes.
before you speak.
Yeah.
And
And that's
before
powerful.
that, think before you speak. Before when we were kids, everybody, your parents always tell you think before you speak. Your teachers
Yes.
in school, think before you speak. That nothing new. You just got to go back to basics and get it right.
Yeah, and we're dealing with with a new group of people, the millennials, that some of them didn't get the things that we got. So it's imperative that we, as the older women and the older individuals, teach the younger generation that this is how you do it. It isn't about getting angry and lashing out and you bragging the fact that you was disrespectful to someone and being right and all that. It's we have a journey before us, but I know if we as individuals, again, you say it starts with you, and if we start with us and we pass it on to one person, I think we could get it together at some point.
Get it together. We have an obligation to do it.
Yes.
We're nation builders. That's what we have to do.
Okay.
And
Thank you,
so
Ms. Lashley. Thank you so
thank
much
you
for
very
being with me. I
much.
appreciate you.
I
Guys, thank you. Oh, thank you. Thank you guys for watching the show, everyone that comes each week and support me. I am grateful to you guys. You guys are amazing. I'm going to be at Dream Girls this Friday from 9:30 to 4. I do believe I'll get there a little bit late, have a prior engagement. But I will be there. Go to my Facebook page, and you can scan the QR code that's there, and you can take it with you to the location, and you get it. You get discounts, you get giveaways, and you get your color swatch. Go in and go in and speak with Cody and the team until I get there. They're amazing. They're awesome at what they do, doing the color swatching. Remember that they social distance. They wear their gloves. They wear their mask, and they sanitize their hands to make sure that you are good. Again, we want to take care of our family, so we're going to make sure that you're taken care of as well. So go down to the Dream Girls. I'm going to drop which location it is. I do believe it's the Prince Charles one, but I'll drop it at the bottom of this on my Facebook page at the bottom of the show, so that you can be able to come out, and you can also scan the code there. I'll make sure the code is there again this week so that you could go ahead and do that. Thank you guys so much. Again, I will be here Tuesday. This coming Tuesday is going to be my last show for the year. I'm going to take a break and finish put together everything all the exciting stuff that I have for you guys for 2021. So I'm going to take a break this next week after the next week's show. And next week, Miss Lashley may be back with me again, because I'm going to have a group of women who've been with me on the show all year, just to get their opinions and their feedback about how they think 2020 went and how we can do some things moving forward. I'm looking forward to having a ton of my girlfriends with me on the show this week. So I'm looking forward to having Miss Lashley with me as well. And we're going to have a really good time. I'd like for you to be there. We're gonna end with a party. We're gonna do the last hoorah for 2020. We're gonna kick it out, and we're gonna jump over to 2021. Thank you guys so much for being with me. Don't forget to share the page. You can still share the page after the show is gone. So if you enjoyed the show today, go ahead and share it with some of your friends. Share it on your Facebook pages. And like I said, giving me the power is giving me the numbers. Go ahead and help your sister out. Thanks, guys. Share the page, like and share. Miss Lashley, I look forward to seeing you. I'm thinking Friday, but I'll work on that. I'll get back to everybody about that. Take care.
Okay, thank you.
Bye, guys. Love you guys.